Hello everyone, Jason here with VC Edge. Today I'm going to be working on the 4th axis Mini Tombstone tailstock. I'm going to try to fit this all into one video. There's 5 parts that I have to make for this thing and then assemble it and then put it into the machine. So let's just go ahead and get started. So all the parts for this tailstock I'm going to be making using this 3/8 inch thick mild steel that I have left over from the project of making those tables. It's the same material I use for the tabletops. So it's pretty tough stuff, should work great for this. And just gonna cut this out and start making our stock pieces. One of the reasons I'm cutting this piece out of the middle is because it's much flatter here. There's some warpage on the sides. I'm just setting up to square up this piece of stock, and one of the things I'm doing is using some thick pieces of aluminum that are clamped in the vise and then clamped to the material to help support it. Since it's such a tall, skinny piece, you don't want it to vibrate all around. I'm just going to manually run across this and then flip it over, do the other side, just to try to square up all the edges. You can manually machine with the CNC machine. It works just great. All that smoke is just the oil that I put on there, the cutting fluid. It's pretty normal for that kind of stuff. This tool is just a 3-flute modular insert tool. So I've got some inserts in here that are good for some steel, and yeah, this little piece here just screws into this body, so you can have multiple different heads for the same tool body. So that's kind of nice. I just got this recently. I'm liking it. Nice color on those chips. So here's all the tools we have that I'm going to be loading in for this job. Got my insert modular end mill, a spot drill and chamfer end mill, a 1/4 inch 4-flute aluminum titanium nitride coated end mill. Got a couple of drills, a 1/4 inch and a number 25, I think. Yeah, number 25 drill. And I've got a few taps, or a couple taps. I got this really cool new tool for rigid tapping. Put the taps in these little holders, and they're really easy to change out. And it's very repeatable, so you can just have a bunch of these different taps set up for the same tool body, and they just come out and swap over. So that is super nice, and this is perfect for the Tormach because of the overall length of it isn't too long. You can see it's pretty close to the drills and other end mills that I use in this machine. So I really like this. I got it from, let's see, the brand is Technics, I think is what it's called. I got it from MSC Industrial. It was pretty expensive. It's like almost $300 just for the tool body, and then each one of these different sized collets or whatever you call them they're like $35 a piece or something like that. So you got to get a bunch of different ones for different size taps. And I'll either be using these spiral flute end mills so that the chips come back out of the hole for some of the blind holes, or these spiral point taps for the holes that are through holes. They can push the chips out through the bottom. One thing I am going to do with some of these taps, they have this point on them, and to get down to some of the more blind holes, I'm just going to grind part of that off so that they can get a little bit further down into the holes. There we go, just like that, so they can get a little further down into the hole. It's still got the tapered part on there, so we're great. Yep, trying to slot a little too fast. That definitely didn't work. I'm gonna have to go revisit that speed. So. Well, slotting in steel is still kind of a mystery to me. It had a lot of trouble trying to cut those slots. Even at 100th thou depth of cut, it just was chattering all over the place. The machine's doing okay, but yeah, good thing we're going to be finishing that side wall afterwards. So I got to flip this on its end and get the end side all finished up. Need to check the model and make sure this is enough room. Make sure the tools aren't going to go any farther down than that. 482. And that's plenty of space. It only actually needs to be 360, so that'll work just fine. All right, there's the setup. Should work. Let's see what happens. Alright, so I got this part all machined out. I was definitely having a lot of trouble with this slot, so I've got some research to do to figure out how to do that properly. And I'm pretty sure this is just mild steel, but it's possible it could be something else. So I'm going to leave it like this with this piece attached so that I still have a flat reference in case I need to put this back in the machine after I fit everything else on. So I did have to make two of these. This first one I had a little trouble with a tap that you can kind of see there on the second hole from the left. Broke that in there, and I think I was probably just going a little fast, and to be fair, it's a pretty deep hole. It goes all the way down into about here. So I wasn't able to save this to get that tap out. I just did another piece. Got this one all done. It looks good. And I've got my little rod that fits in here. Fits in with a clearance fit, so it's not a press fit like some of the other holes are. I will have a set screw up on the top later, so that is just about right. Alright, here's the setup for the next piece. It's nothing fancy, very simple part. This is for the little stiffener that's going to go on the back, and I'm a little nervous about this one because it's programmed for some what I think are very fast speeds, but it's what's supposedly recommended, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it works out well. Well, that worked out really well. I'm really happy with how that sounded. Let's just do a quick check on this bore size. See if this fits. And not quite. I'm gonna have to run another finishing pass on that. Okay, nice. That fits just right too. Okay, that part's almost done. Just got to cut off the excess outside the machine. I could flip this over and do some soft jaws and all that stuff, but it's just a one-off part, so I'm just gonna cut out the excess by hand and sand it to trim it up. All right, that's together. Let's get the feet machined and get those on. All right, here's the stock I have for the next part. I've already got it cut to size exactly, and I'm gonna have it cut 2 of these feet, 1 out of each side. I'll be left with a little piece in the middle, no big deal. The challenging part that I'm asking the machine to do is to cut out these notches, and because they're kind of small, it's going to have to take lots of little small circular cuts for the adaptive toolpath that I'm asking for. I'm not sure how the machine will do with the acceleration that it takes to get up to the speed that I'm asking for. So we'll see what kind of noises the machine makes. It may do well, it may do not very well. If it doesn't, I'll have to stop it and reprogram it. So I will be flipping this part over. I'm going to machine the notches, do the holes and the counter bores, and then we'll flip it over, and on this side we'll just do some profiling and some chamfering, and that's about it. Most of it will be done here. There'll be a slot cut through there, and you know, I'll round out the corners and a few things like that. So there's that side. I'm still having a bit of trouble with these full slot bits. It made it through this time without breaking any tools or anything, but it sure doesn't sound very nice. Oh. Alright, just gotta flip it over, get the other side, and then do some of the hand sanding after. Alright, side 2 done. It's interesting, this side, the slot went perfectly. It's a little less depth of cut than before. But then when I went over to this one, same slot, just different direction, it had a hard time. But that looks good, we'll cut those out. Material left over is thin enough, I wonder if I could just break it. The thing with this mild steel, I don't think it works hardens like other materials do. That's why you can do this sort of thing with other stuff. It'll sort of, there we go. Yeah. I am actually putting some tape on these to preserve the finish on the bottom. Alright, got my feet. Just need to put these on. I can do a test fit. Alright, so one of the things I can do, if when I put this in the machine, if it's not exactly the right height for this, I can find out how much, take that measurement, and then I can put this back in the machine with the bottom of the vise, and I can just face off this whole surface by however much I need to drop it down by. I have a suspicion that it'll be very close, but it might be a little bit too high up. Okay, got the tombstone set to the 0 position. I know where that is because there's a little mark that I machined in right here. So I'll set the height based on that. And the top of that pin, 3.436. On this piece, we get 3.442. So I just got to subtract those. Okay, so now that I've taken those measurements, I know that I need to take off 6/1000ths from this face here. There's 2 different ways I could do it. I could take these off and just machine out these little pockets again, down 6/1000ths. Or I could just put this in the machine this way and face off the whole entire thing. I do have enough room in these counter bores to, they're deep enough where I can take off that much material. Yeah, they're about 20/1000ths from the top, so I could take off 6/1000ths, no problem. It will probably be much easier just to take these off and machine down these flats a bit. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I got that backside machined down a little bit, took off that 6/1000ths. Let's see if it fits now. Yeah, oh, nice. Yeah, that's about as perfect as you can get. It just slides right in there. I mean, it's a clearance fit in that bearing, but it is like, it's close. And this doesn't rock or anything. Very nice. Okay, just gotta cut this slot out and then finish it up. This thing will be almost done. We've got one more operation to do. Yeah, I think that looks all right. Let's put it together. Okay, finally got all the parts together. Can finally do the final assembly on this. Everything feels nice and smooth. Looks pretty good. So let's put this together. use the pin to align it so that I don't have to worry about the bolts being off by any small amount. And the pin will still come out after it's tightened. Hopefully. Yeah, it still does. Okay. That's that. Put the feet on. We've got one more operation to do, which is from some set screws to put here in the top that'll hold this in place, keep it from sliding back and forth. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put the feet on. So I'm putting these on now so that when it sits in the vise, it'll have something to sit on all the way across. And we're gonna put it in just like that, clamp down on these, and we're just gonna be drilling and tapping. So I'll just drill and tap straight into these little guys. You would never set it up like this for doing any milling operations on the sides or anything like that, because this, it would have a lot of vibration. But since we're just doing things that are straight down operations, it will be just fine. Famous last words. These are the set screws that I'm going to use. They're these cool little brass tipped pieces so they don't mar the thing that it's being set screwed. I need to find my zero position on this, which is this back face and the very top of this and the center. So in order to do that, first thing I'm going to do is find the 0 and x-axis. And I can do that by inserting my pin, and I only have to get close to the highest or the farthest point of this as long as I do the same Z height on both sides. So I will just jog over and get it close. Something like that. And then I can find this side. Set the origin there. And then keeping it at the same Z height, move over to the other side and do the same thing. Now I'll find the X over here. Then I can move up and out of the way, move over to where it found the X, and then I can just divide by 2 on the DRO, and that'll give me the exact center position. So now that I have that, I move over to the 0 in x-axis, and I can find my Z0 by, now that it's in the center, I can just touch the top. Okay, there's that. And then of course my Y0, Y negative. And that's it. Now I can take my pin out and do the machining. I'm gonna do this kind of the old-fashioned way. I'm gonna turn the coolant off so you can see what's going on. The CNC will still be doing all the movements, but see what this looks like. Ooh, a little smoky. It worked. Well, of course, this is the part that I'm definitely worried about. It's kind of a deep hole. We'll see if the tap survives the trip. Beautiful. All right. All right, got this thing all cleaned up and deburred on the inside. So this fits in place nice and easy. And it's kind of nice with these set screws, I can sort of set it to whatever depth I want, or if I wanted a longer one, I could even do that. And these set screws have the same size thread, or the same size Allen key as all the other bolts, so that's handy. And now that can't move, there it is. So there's the tailstock in all its glory. Sure did turn out pretty nice. Should work really well. Well, let's go ahead and fit it in the machine, see how it looks in there. Okay, slide this in. You can see how good the fit is. It just slides really nice. Goes right into the bearing once you get it lined up. And slides in perfectly. And there's no rocking, there's no gaps underneath any of the feet. So that's just an ideal. I can set this gap however I want it, depending on if I want to mount anything to the side. I can set it to where it just goes into the bearing just a little bit, so I've got some extra room here. Or I can bury it in if I want some extra stability. But that's it. I do still need to get some bolts and some T-nuts down here in the bottom, but essentially tailstock is done. Looking good. I thought about doing a blackened finish on this, but I don't know, I kind of like it raw steel. Sort of fits the aesthetic of the rest of the machine. All this other stuff is just uncoated as well. Fits in there nice. Should leave plenty of room for stock to be in the vise at the same time. I'm really happy with how that turned out. And now I can finally finish machining the tombstone, get these surfaces all machined to the final size, and then put the holes in for the pallets that are going to go on here. And so we'll do that next. Alright, so that's it for this video. It took a while, but I eventually got the tailstock all finished and it's in the machine. It's looking great. I can finally get it bolted down and machine the surfaces of the tombstone and get that all finished up, make it to size. And then I can put pallets on and actually start making some more parts for the knives. So look out for those videos and I'll see you on the next one.